Every time, it's the same. They tell us we can't stop these massacres. They tell us we have to stand by and watch tragedy after tragedy unfold in our communities. They say we can't stop domestic terrorism without violating the Second Amendment, and that thoughts and prayers are the best we can do. I'm here to say that's a lie. In this country, we do have the power to change things, to reclaim our freedom from fear. Our ability to make a more perfect union is literally written into the Constitution. So today, I'm proposing the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution to do just that. The 28th Amendment permanently enshrines 4 additions to the laws of our land. It raises the minimum age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21, because if you can't buy a beer, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun. It mandates universal background checks to prevent truly dangerous people from purchasing a gun that can be used in a crime. It institutes reasonable waiting periods for all gun purchases, and it bans civilians from buying assault rifles, those weapons of war our founding fathers never foresaw.
There's been some recent activity by 2 Democratic governors that should have Christians, and really not just Christians, but even non-Christians, including Democrats or liberals, should be alarmed about this. What's recently happened is obviously, or many of you have heard about what Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has done in proposing a constitutional amendment, the 28th Amendment. This rule or this amendment is intended to limit the Second Amendment. Now, Gavin Newsom is obviously, it's clear that he is no fan of the Second Amendment. He's no fan of people having guns. The proposed 28th Amendment is to raise the minimum age to purchase a gun from 18 to 21 years of age, to create a universal background check, generate a waiting period for gun purchases, ban civilian purchases of assault weapons. Now, the problem is there's a lot of ambiguity in this, and so who's going to determine what an assault weapon is? Also, who determines how long you have to have this waiting period? Again, how long should you wait for a constitutional amendment, a right to receive that right? Now, this is why this is problematic and troublesome. Because if you're going to ignore or try to usurp an actual constitution, an actual amendment in the Constitution, a right that's held, then what else would you try to usurp? And don't think it's just Gavin Newsom. The governor of New Mexico has decided to go ahead and to ban guns in the state.
Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham says gun violence in New Mexico is a problem.
Gun deaths are the leading cause of death for children 1 to 19 in New Mexico. So effective immediately, no person other than a law enforcement officer or licensed security officer shall possess a firearm, either openly or concealed, within cities or counties, averaging 1,000 or more violent crimes per 100,000, and more than 90 firearm-related emergency department visits.
Now, this isn't about guns. It really isn't. This is about taking away people's rights. And the rights that should be taken away are the rights that we disagree with. The laws that we have in place are okay so long as they are in agreement with me. Who's me? Well, whoever tends to be on the left, number one. And then you think about the folks that are, for the most part, against people having guns, open carry and so forth, concealed carry, what have you, any kind of carry. Those people also tend to be the same people who are for abortion on demand with no limitations, no restrictions on abortion. You want no government interference when it comes to a parent changing the sex of a child. Irreversible damage being done, there should be no laws of that, but an adult having the right to protect themselves, we want to outlaw that, or at least severely restrict it. Now, the Bible does say in Romans 13:1, every person should be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Now, what that really means is that we should be in subject to whoever is over us. And honestly, this is not just pertaining to the actual government, and it doesn't really spell out to what degree, what type of government, and so forth. We won't get in that argument here, but still, as a citizen, we are required to obey the laws of our land. But which laws? Because now we've got government officials that are actually usurping the true laws of the land. Who sets the laws of the land? Well, we are governed by a constitution. The reason why this should be alarming to many people is because they will, who's the they? Well, those in power, at some point in time are going to want to come after you for you and your sincerely held religious beliefs. Because don't think that it'll just stop at guns. And don't think that it'll just stop at abortion. By the way, I think everyone should be up in arms about that. Don't think it'll stop there. If you do anything that promotes your religion that can, as they say, would harm someone else's feelings as it relates to their freedom of expression. See, your freedom of expression as a Christian doesn't matter, but the freedom of expression for someone who is, let's say, in the LGBTQ community, theirs matters. A protected class, someone who is of a different religion other than Christianity, their freedom of expression matters. Yours doesn't. And so how can they ensure, if not today, but maybe in the future, the ability to take your rights away or to restrict your rights? Well, first of all, take away your guns, take away your ability to protect yourself. And if there will be an assault or an outright ignoring of the Constitution, such as the governor of New Mexico, well, then what else will they say or could they deem to be a problematic constitutional right? At present, I don't think there's much to worry about in terms of the United States Supreme Court even allowing this law in New Mexico to stand or there being any constitutional amendment. But the fact is that they are attempting it now. What you attempt now, that's shocking now, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, might actually be the norm. Think about it. This whole LGBTQ argument that we're having, especially as it relates to transgenderism and children changing their sex, this was outrageous some time ago. 20 years ago, this was unheard of. No one would have thought about that. Think about it. 20 years ago, even Democrats were railing about other nations, mutilating other children's genitalia. Now, here in America, we don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, we want to legislate that and make that part of the law, make that a protected part of the law. So while you should be up in arms about this issue related to guns, it's because it's going to affect other things that we also hold dearly, mainly our freedom of expression, more specifically, our right to express the religion, in our case, Christianity, of our choice.